The collapse of fortified lines in just 2 days shattered months of preparation. Disarray spread through the ranks. Western allies watched in stunned silence, questioning their endless support. But what political storm was brewing behind these military defeats? And how deep will the crisis ripple through Ukraine's leadership and society? Pressure mounts in Kiev. Military commanders face relentless scrutiny. Citizens' frustration simmers, turning into a swelling tide of dissent. The internal crisis deepens, linked directly to the fall of Iskra, the once impenetrable stronghold. Meanwhile, Moscow views the events through a different lens, as a powerful diplomatic trump card. Having showcased an ability to conduct successful operations despite NATO's backing of its adversary, Russia fortifies its bargaining position for upcoming negotiations. Could this be the moment the West begins to doubt its chances in this drawn-out conflict? Analysts warn, weeks ahead will not see respite. New offensives are projected, aiming to expand control zones and encircle major enemy formations. The Ukrainian forces face relentless pressure, time, resources, morale all in short supply. Yet the true magnitude lies in the historic shift unfolding. Iskra's fall signals the collapse of traditional military doctrines. What once seemed invincible falters under a strategy of cunning precision and multi-front assaults. This episode will be etched into history as a turning point, proof that determined, well-planned strikes on a single front can cascade entire battle lines into chaos. Iskra is no longer just a name on a map. It now symbolizes a profound transformation, an opening salvo of sweeping changes in both military and political realms. Its story will be dissected for years, its lessons debated. But already, the truth stands clear, this was the dawn of a new stage, one whose consequences will echo for decades. What happens next? Will this shift trigger a domino effect across the region? Or can the forces opposing this tide find a way to adapt before it's too late? The answers lie just beyond the horizon, where conflict and diplomacy collide in never-before-seen ways. The morning battle saw more devastation than expected. Ukrainian anti-tank units either burned out under intense fire or abandoned their posts. Russian aviation's role was nothing short of spectacular. Stormtroopers struck carefully mapped targets, while helicopters hunted down surviving armored vehicles. Remarkably, Russian air units suffered no losses. Enemy air defenses had been crushed during the earlier artillery barrage. By 6 o'clock, the outer defensive perimeter was shattered. Assault forces reached the outskirts of Iskra, where an eerie silence greeted them. What surprised the attackers was the near desertion of Ukrainian troops. Soldiers fled, leaving behind weapons, ammunition, and even prepared meals. Attempts to mount a counteroffensive failed disastrously. A column of reinforcements sent to relieve the garrison was destroyed by relentless airstrikes before it could even arrive. Morale collapsed, the fall of Iskra was inevitable. The once formidable front line had vanished like a mirage. Yet, the fiercest fight lay ahead. Urban warfare is merciless. Streets and buildings turn into labyrinths of danger, demanding precise planning and unshakable teamwork. Here, Russian troops showed extraordinary coordination that military analysts now call exemplary. The city was divided into sectors, each assault group had clear objectives and strict timelines. Attacks came simultaneously from 3 directions, preventing defenders from massing forces. Communication stayed intact through resilient backup channels, separate from the main command links, vital amid chaos. Engineers moved boldly up front. The defenders had booby-trapped many buildings and access routes. However, veteran sapper units swiftly detected and defused explosives, saving countless lives and maintaining momentum. Could this tactical discipline in the face of chaos be the decisive edge? Or was Iskra's fall a foregone conclusion? The grating sounds of wire cutters and cautious footsteps echoed through cold alleyways as the city became a deadly chessboard, where each move determined who would survive the day. In the previous phase, engineers uncovered and neutralized countless hidden explosives, saving dozens of lives and enabling swift advances. Yet, the fiercest battle was just unfolding. Sniper pairs climbed to towering buildings, picking off enemy fire points with unerring precision. Every shot echoed like a death knell, sending waves of panic through defenders. Could anyone move without feeling a bullet's whisper? Their ruthless accuracy shattered morale. Fortified positions fell one after another as soldiers abandoned their once secure bunkers. The fiercest confrontation centered on a rugged stronghold, a converted school turned fortress by Ukrainian forces. Nestled inside were remnants of a battered garrison led by a determined lieutenant colonel. Machine gun nests peppered the walls, a mortar was perfectly placed. Below, the basements were laced with deadly mines, traps waiting silently beneath the rubble. Charging head-on was suicidal. Instead, attackers encircled the building, sealing escape routes. Snipers darkened the upper floors with relentless fire, silencing sharpshooters who dared expose themselves. Then, through shadowed sewers and dank cellars, assault squads slipped inside. The confined fight was brutal but brief, less than an hour of savage skirmishing. Despite their tenacity, the defenders' resistance collapsed. 23 soldiers surrendered, including their commander. The captors uncovered stockpiles brimming with Western arms, American rifles, Canadian grenade launchers, Polish ammunition, a stark reminder of massive foreign support that ultimately failed to turn the tide. By midday, organized resistance in the city's heart was all but extinguished. Scattered pockets scrambled toward the outskirts, only to find every escape route choked with enemy patrols. Their desperate breaks were crushed, either captured or eliminated. The final defiant bastion was a basement in a residential block. A clutch of fighters refused to yield, trading gunfire when negotiators urged surrender. Special tactics were deployed to clear the labyrinthine cellar. By 1630 hours, complete control was restored. The echoes of that victory still linger. What does the fall of this fortified crossroads mean for the broader conflict? Is this just the opening move or a devastating blow that reshapes the entire battlefield? Time, and the next wave of actions, will reveal how deep these wounds run. What if the fortress you built to hold the line crumbles in just 48 hours? On August 29th, a moment shattered expectations and rewrote the playbook of the conflict. Beneath the quiet skies over a small settlement named Iskra, defenses once hailed as impenetrable collapsed with shocking swiftness, stunning both Kiev and its Western allies. How could a place defended with massive resources and fortified like a stronghold vanish so quickly? The answer lies in a storm of unseen moves, secret networks, and a battle plan executed with deadly precision. In the days leading up to the assault, the Russian side conducted meticulous preparations that outmatched expectations. Since spring, a vast web of undercover informants tracked every troop movement deep inside enemy lines. Rotation after rotation, convoy after convoy, the entire picture was captured and analyzed in silence. This stealthy intelligence web blinded Ukrainian countermeasures, granting the attackers the crucial edge before the first shot was fired. The defenses around Iskra were designed according to Western doctrines, expecting the enemy to punch head-on. Concrete bunkers rose, minefields crisscrossed the approaches, and anti-tank barriers ringed the town. Yet, this rigid setup became a trap. Instead of a frontal barrage, the assault unfolded across multiple directions simultaneously, shattering familiar defensive formulas. The fortress's very foundations trembled under a strategic onslaught no one had truly anticipated. Could poor placement of ammunition depots near residential zones weaken the defenders' grip? Indeed. Such vulnerabilities magnified the chaos when the assault began. Fatigue gnawed at the front lines, as many units endured months without relief. Signs of breakdown appeared, radio intercepts captured murmurs of dissent and disorder just as the opening blasts echoed. The defense unraveled not only because of force, but by a cunning strategy that dismantled command and morale almost instantly. Suddenly, the air was filled with thunderous explosions and sharp radio static vanished. The enemy's command posts fell silent, severed from their units. Radio-electronic warfare machines cut the lifelines of communication, plunging defenders into isolation. Behind the scenes, saboteurs slipped unseen, destroying critical supply points in a synchronized dance with the artillery's roar. Flames rose against the skyline, smoke suffocated hope, and panic triggered mass desertions. Entire hangars of NATO weapons were left untouched, abandoned in haste and fear. This was not just a battle lost. It was the unraveling of a military strategy backed by billions in Western aid. With Iskra fallen, a crucial corridor opened wide, for advancing toward far more strategic targets. The defensive line spanning over 100 kilometers lay exposed, as the world watched in stunned silence. How did the tides turn so drastically in just a few days? What was the secret that toppled what many called unbreakable? As darkness fell on August 28, the attackers settled into position. Artillery units spread out across hidden posts, ever ready to unleash devastation and then vanish into the shadows. After months of stalemate, surprise had returned at last. The whispered hum of electronic jammers blanketed enemy radios moments before the sky exploded with fire at 4:30 in the morning. What happened next would redefine the course of this front forever. Did the defenders ever know the full weight of the storm descending upon them? As the night fell on August 28, the atmosphere was thick with tension, anticipation, and unexpected dread. Did anyone truly grasp the storm that was about to unfold? The breath of conflict loomed heavy, and the air crackled with unspoken fears. Just 2 days later, the fabric of the defense would disintegrate, caught off guard in the grip of swift operation. The touch of steel and the whisper of wind would bear witness to a seismic shift in military strategy. In an unanticipated miscalculation, the Ukrainian command had positioned supply depots alarmingly close to civilian areas. This proximity not only compromised their security but also made them glaringly vulnerable. The emotional toll was palpable among troops who faced relentless deployment without relief. They remained at the front line for months, leading to exhaustion, dwindling morale, and fractures in discipline. Communication failures echoed like the relentless pounding of a war drum, with intercepted radio transmissions revealing a disturbing level of disarray and disobedience. The impact of this upheaval left the defenders staggering, poised on the precipice of collapse. Deep within the intricate web of reconnaissance, special operations teams stealthily infiltrated enemy lines days before the onslaught. Their mission was clear: obliterate command posts and munition stores in the first chaotic moments. The near-simultaneous detonations that rocked the rear once the shelling began struck like a bolt of lightning, shattering the spirits of those left to defend. Meanwhile, reports fluttered through the media, half-heartedly dismissing the catastrophe's scale, hiding the heart-wrenching truth: men in panic, abandoning both machinery and weaponry in the wake of chaos, with untouched NATO supplies lying idly in forsaken hangars. The fall of this small town became something far greater than a local skirmish. It unveiled the unraveling of a strategic doctrine, backed by untold billions, now lying in tatters. The pathway to ambitions far beyond had opened, exposing over 100 kilometers of front line to imminent danger. Darkness enveloped the battlefield, but our forces were poised at dawn's breaking, a calculated surprise in an unfolding drama. Each artillery battery stood ready at the chosen positions, optimizing their chances for a rapid and stealthy redeployment, a plan far removed from their adversaries' expectations. With each tick of the clock, every soldier's heartbeat synchronized with the churn of impending chaos. Would this be the night they reclaimed lost ground, or would they too become lost echoes in history? The air was thick with the scent of gunpowder, a prelude to the storms that were about to battle not just for territory but for the very soul of a nation. In the quiet hours before dawn, a storm was gathering, unnoticed by those tasked with defending a fragile front line. A chilling question loomed: could the Ukrainian forces withstand the impending onslaught? The night of August 28 marked a pivotal moment in the ongoing conflict, as the Russian military positioned itself for an assault that would leave commanders in shock. As the clock struck 4:30 a.m., the silence shattered under the roar of artillery. The assault began with a ferocity rarely seen before. Artillery units, strategically dispersed to avoid detection, unleashed a torrent of fire that obliterated Ukrainian command centers within minutes. The Ukrainian military, caught unprepared, lost communication and command. Panic ensued. Without orders, the defenders were left to flounder amidst chaos. Behind enemy lines, Russian sabotage teams executed their missions with precision. Explosions erupted, signaling destruction. 3 ammunition depots and 2 fuel bases were irrevocably compromised. Dark smoke billowed into the sky, painting a grim picture of the turmoil within the city. In a desperate attempt to retaliate, Ukrainian artillery launched erratic volleys, met with swift and merciless counterfire. By 5:15 a.m., the assault forces, equipped with modern tanks and infantry fighting vehicles, surged forward. The first defensive line crumbled, and shock rippled through the beleaguered defenders. Failed attempts to mount a coherent resistance saw troops abandon their posts, overwhelmed by despair as reinforcements fell victim to the relentless aerial bombardment. As the sun rose, illuminating the battlefield, a stark realization dawned: defenders had left behind not only their weapons but also their very will to fight. The specter of defeat loomed large, but could anything reverse the tide at this critical juncture? Each step taken by the advancing units brought them closer to the core of the city, revealing remnants of a shattered defense. But the most difficult trials were still to come. The urban landscape promised fierce, close-quarter combat. How would the attackers adapt to the sudden shift in tactics as they prepared to engage within the heart of the city? In their attempt to establish supremacy, the soldiers now faced a haunting reality. Would they emerge victorious, or meet a fate sealed within the rubble of collapsed defenses? The evening saw the last moments of resistance dissolve as the Russian forces claimed complete control over Ypres. A haunting silence filled the air, disrupted only by distant explosions of disarmed mines and the lined-up captives waiting for their fate. The fall of Ypres marked an event that rippled far beyond a simple local operation. Almost immediately, the implications of this victory altered the operational landscape dramatically. With Ypres now in Russian hands, a direct route opened to 3 significant strongholds of the Ukrainian forces. These garrisons found themselves in an incredibly vulnerable position. Supplies were choked off, and the risk of encirclement loomed larger with each passing hour. The Ukrainian command faced a wrenching dilemma: abandon their positions or cling to them at the cost of staggering losses. Would they dare to maintain the line or retreat in disarray? Moreover, seizing the transport hub of Ypres granted Russian troops the ability to threaten the flank of the Ukrainian grouping along a staggering front of over 100 kilometers. This maneuver harbored the potential for widespread encirclement, thrusting Kiev into a precarious and complex strategic dilemma. The ramifications were not merely military, they were psychological as well. The Ypres garrison was once considered one of the most capable, and its swift collapse sent shockwaves through both the Ukrainian ranks and their Western military advisors. As morale plummeted in various units, panic spread like wildfire through Kiev. Politicians and generals scrambled to assign blame, desperately seeking explanations for the calamity that had unfolded, but concrete answers eluded them. Western allies, too, clamored for clarity. Across European capitals, doubts grew louder. Was it wise to continue pouring billions into a project yielding such dire outcomes? If well-fortified positions could crumble in mere days, how justified was the ongoing support? Simultaneously, the Russian leadership gained substantial ground in the diplomatic arena. The success in Ypres served as compelling leverage for future negotiations, providing them with a narrative of undeniable strength. Would this victory reshape the future discourse between the nations and redefine the conflict's trajectory? The haunting echoes of Ypres' fall would linger, casting long shadows over the battlefield and beyond.